Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be building a simple Pokemon battle application in React. Here we have two Pokemon, Blastoise and Charizard, and this is going to be what our final project's going to look like. We're going to be able to click on this attack opponent button for either Blastoise or Charizard, and clicking this attack opponent button, you'll notice that the opponent's HP or health points are going to drop. So if I click this attack opponent button, Charizard's HP is going to go down. I can also use Charizard to attack Blastoise, depending on who I want to win this game. So say I'm going to have Charizard win. Once Blastoise's HP is down to 0, the screen's going to change to say that Charizard wins. So simple application, but we'll get to learn a lot of the basics of React. So let's get started. I've included in the description to this video a link to my GitHub repo, which will include the finished code and also a folder for the starter code. The reason I'm including the starter code is because I don't want to spend this entire video, or at least part of this video, going over the CSS. So I'll give a quick overview of the starter code here. The starter code is going to have a React app that I built with npx create React app. And for you watching the video here, all you need to do is go to my GitHub repo, and again, the link for that is in the description of this video. And you're going to cd into the starter code. Once you're in the starter code, you're just going to run npm I, which is going to download those node packages for you, and then npm start if you want to launch the application with the starter code in it. So let's take a look at our starter code. The main idea behind the starter code was to get our styling out of the way so we can focus on the React. We have inside of our source folder here an images folder with a picture of Blastoise and a picture of Charizard. And then we have our index.js file, which we're not going to touch. We have app.js, which will be our main JavaScript file, which will hold our JavaScript functions as well as that Pokemon component. App CSS for styling, and then we have another file, which is for our Pokemon component, Pokemon.js, and Pokemon.css, which is going to be the styling for that Pokemon file. Let's start building our app in our app.js file. First thing I'm going to do is run this VS Code snippet, RAFCE, click tab, and this is going to create a boilerplate component for me. Next, what I'm going to do is import that CSS file with our styling. So import ./app.css, and then I'm going to import those two images as well that are in that images folder. Import Blastoise from images/blastoise.png. I'll do the same for Charizard. So now let's focus on getting our UI to look like our finished code. If we were to run npm start with what we have built so far, our output or our application will look like the following. So far, all we're returning to the screen is this div with the contents of app. As you can see, app right here. Of course, we want this to be returning our two images of Blastoise and Charizard, as well as the related information to go with those two Pokemon. So what we're going to do here is put a class onto this div of container. Notice how in React we actually have to use class camel case name instead of just the typical class keyword in JavaScript. What we want rendered to the screen here is two Pokemon components, which we'll quickly talk about a component here. The things that we want rendered to the screen are that image and the information regarding Blastoise as well as Charizard. And we're going to do that through React components. So the syntax for a component is this here. Capital letters and then the name of the component and a self-closing tag. We want two of those. And what a component is a reusable bit of code that acts very similarly to a JavaScript function. We can pass information to these components to customize them. For example, we can pass this first Pokemon a name of Blastoise and the second Pokemon a name of Charizard so that the components show up on our page with different properties. We will demonstrate that here by passing the name of Blastoise to the first Pokemon component and the name of Charizard to the second Pokemon component. Before this will work, however, we need to do two things. One, we need to actually build the Pokemon component, and 2, we need to import the Pokemon component from this Pokemon file. So in other words, we need to tell our app.js file to look for this Pokemon.js file. And we're going to do that similar to how we use all these import statements up here, is we're going to import Pokemon from ./Pokemon. So now this app.js file will be looking for information in this Pokemon.js file, which is where we'll head now. So let's open up our Pokemon.js file. And once more, we're going to put in this code snippet, RAFCE, press tab, and this time it's going to create a component for us named Pokemon. One advantage of this code snippet is that this will automatically export this Pokemon component for us. So just like we in the app file we're importing, here's the other side of that. Export default Pokemon will get the file ready to be imported. And just like we did in app.js, we are going to import ./Pokemon.css in order to get our styling. So moving down to the return statement inside of our Pokemon component, we are going to add a class name of Pokemon container to this div inside of our Pokemon component. We're going to clear out this content, and we will replace it with another div with the class of name. Inside of this div is where we're going to start to pass properties from our app component into our Pokemon component. So the name of this property is name. The way we're going to get our Pokemon component to understand what this name is in reference to is, if you remember in our app.js file, we passed right here name equals Blastoise into this Pokemon component. This Pokemon component now needs a way to understand what this name is, and the way we're going to do that is by passing it to a parameter of the Pokemon component. We're going to use destructuring and use the name of that property, name, right here. Now this Pokemon component is going to have access to this name property, and you'll notice, because I saved the file, that our component is already loading and our application is already showing these correct component names, Blastoise and Charizard. And these names of Blastoise and Charizard are of course in reference to the values of our name properties that we pass through in our app.js, Blastoise, Charizard. So that's great. Now that we've passed in the name properties, let's pass in an image property to each Pokemon. Image, we're going to name this property image, and the value, we're going to have to use curly braces, which is a way in React to interpolate a variable into our property. And you'll remember we have a reference to these images where we imported them on line 3 and 4. So we called this Blastoise, and the path is this image/blastoise.png. So the value of this image prop is going to be this value here, Blastoise with a capital B. And then on the next line, we're going to use the same name, img equals, and again we're going to use those curly braces to interpolate a variable, Charizard. And so again, just like with our name property, we're going to need to go into our Pokemon Pokemon component, and we're going to need to add another prop here to pass through called img, and then we will add an image element inside of our Pokemon container div. And our image element, we're going to we'll just use the name Pokemon, and the source, we're going to get rid of these two quotations, again interpolating a variable, and we're going to call this img, which is going to pull from this property right here. And now when I save this file, we should see images show up in our application. Blastoise and Charizard, great. Now we're going to head back into our app.js, and we can start our discussion about state. State in React is a way we can efficiently store and manipulate data. So state is one of the key advantages to using a framework like React over just using vanilla JavaScript. The way we bring state into our React project is with the useState hook. So we're going to go here on our line 1 and import React, and then we're going to go import comma inside of curly braces useState from React. Now we will have the ability to use this useState hook in our project. Where we're going to do this, or where we're going to use useState, is right in our app component, but before the return statement. So we'll create some space here for us. To use useState, we're going to create a variable, but the variable is going to have two values. The initial value is going to be where we're going to hold our state, and our second value in this array is going to be a setter function, and we're going to use that setter function to change the value of the state. So I'll show that here. Charizard HP, this is going to be in reference to the amount of health that Charizard has. The second value, this is going to be that setter function, set Charizard HP. We're going to set this array equal to, this is where we're going to use that useState, and then passing in the initial value that we want the state to have. In this case, we want the initial value to be 120. Now we're going to use useState once more in order to get Blastoise's health points, as well as the setter function to change the HP of Blastoise. So we're going to do that, useState, and this time not 120, we're going to use 100. And so just in the same way that we passed this name prop into our Pokemon component, we can use these variables that we used in useState, like Charizard HP and Blastoise HP, in order to send another property to our Pokemon component named HP equal to, in this instance, Blastoise HP, and for Charizard, passing the prop of HP with the value set to Charizard HP. Once again, we'll head over to our Pokemon component and add another prop here, this time called HP. We will build another div. This div will have the class of HP. Inside of the tags, we're going to go HP, and then using curly braces, we're going to insert the value of HP in here, and this is going to refer to the state values of either Blastoise or Charizard. And as you can see in our application, Blastoise now has HP 100, Charizard has HP of 120, so that's great. We're getting closer to building out this application. The next thing we're going to build is that functionality to give Blastoise the ability to attack Charizard and Charizard the ability to attack Blastoise. Heading back to our app.js component, we're going to utilize this set Charizard HP setter function and this set Blastoise HP setter function. We're going to do that by declaring two simple functions. The first function is going to be called Blastoise attack, and it's going to be set to set Charizard HP, because when Blastoise attacks, we want to manipulate Charizard's HP, and in this case we want to change Charizard's HP to go down. So the value we're going to pass into set Charizard HP is going to be Charizard HP minus 30. So what this function represents is that when Blastoise attacks, Charizard's HP is going to go down by 30. We will do the same thing for Charizard attack in another function below. Basically the same function, except for the values are going to be a little bit different. Set Blastoise HP minus 25. So now that we have both Blastoise attack and Charizard attack defined, functions are something that we can pass into props just like we could state variables, images that we've imported, or else key value pairs that we define on the component itself. So the name of the prop that we're going to set for those functions is going to be attack, and we'll set that equal to, again using curly braces, the name of the function. The first one here is going to be Blastoise attack, and that's going to be for that Blastoise character. And the second function name is Charizard attack, again using attack as the prop name, Charizard attack. So we'll head over to our Pokemon component for a final time in order to put this attack function into our UI. Inside of our Pokemon container div here, we will put in a button tag. The button tag will have an on-click value of attack. Attack is that name of that prop that we passed down. We'll add it to our parameters of our Pokemon component. And inside of our button tags, the value that will appear on the screen will say attack opponent, saving the file, and you'll see that now Blastoise and Charizard both have a button attached to them. So let's test these buttons out. Heading to our application here, we click on Blastoise's attack button, and look, Charizard's HP goes down by 30. We click on Charizard's attack button, Blastoise's HP goes down by 25, so this appears to be working great. However, we have one more thing to do, because at the moment, if I use Charizard's attack button on Blastoise and it goes all the way down to 0, I can keep going even past 0. And that's probably not what we want. What would make more sense is that if either Blastoise or Charizard's health reaches 0, the game ends and our screen indicates to us that either Blastoise or Charizard has won. So to take care of that logic, we'll head back into app.js and include a little bit of control flow here above our return statement to be able to tell our application what to do when either Blastoise or Charizard's health reaches 0. Below our two attack functions, we're going to get a reference to this div with the class name of container so that we can use that to change the UI. We're going to go const container document dot query selector and then dot container to get a reference to this div here. And then we'll use an if statement. If Charizard HP is less than or equal to 0, we're going to go get that container dot inner HTML is going to be Blastoise wins. And we will do the same for if Charizard wins. If Blastoise HP is less than or equal to 0, container dot inner HTML equals Charizard wins. This Charizard HP here and this Blastoise HP here are of course in reference to the state variable which we've defined up here. So now with that updated control flow, let's give our application one more try and see what happens. This time we'll have Blastoise get Charizard's health all the way to 0 and see what happens. The UI changes and it says Blastoise wins. So we can't just continually attack even into the negative health points. We'll try this again with this time Charizard winning. And that's great. When Blastoise's health gets to 0, the UI changes to let us know that Charizard has won. So that's it for the video, everyone. Thank you for watching. I hope you got some valuable practice with React components, React props, and React state. And I hope to see you in the next one.